Hi, my name is Sheik and I hit top 500 in Season 0 and I'm currently a couple points off of Eternity in Season 1. Here are some useful and easy to implement tips that will help you win more in your ranked games. Number 1. Don't tilt queue. You might roll your eyes at this one, but I'm sure we've all had those games where one of your teammates is crashing out in game chat and completely throwing the game without even realizing it. If you're on a loss streak of 5 or more, you might want to do a mental check and take a break. Going into a game with a preconceived notion that your healers aren't going to heal or your DPS aren't going to pick up kills is setting yourself up for failure. Having a positive mentality and focusing on your own game will improve your standard of gameplay tenfold. If you're aware that you get tilted really easily or there's people screaming in game chat, turn off the comms, resist the urge to shout back at them. The same concept extends to critiquing your teammates. You can give helpful tips or team comp suggestions, but don't outright tell your teammates that they suck and they should quit the game. This only ruins the team's morale and any chance you had at winning. If you're mad after a game, do yourself a favor and take a breath. Don't demote yourself straight away. Number 2. Learn to flex. I strongly suggest that you learn to play at least 2 roles. If you see that your team has 3 DPS and a healer locked in, don't force DPS at the last second and leave your team without a tank or with 1 healer. Everyone has a main role, but it's a high likelihood that at least once every few games you might have to play something else, especially if you're a DPS main. In addition to flexing roles, you will want to learn to flex characters within your main role, meaning that if your main character is being countered, you have options to swap to. Some examples of this are shield tanks and dive tanks, melee DPS and range DPS, backline and dive DPS, main healers and offensive healers. Take Iron Fist for example. Iron Fist definitely isn't going to work into every team comp, especially if the enemy team has a Penny Parker. It's a good idea to also learn a character like Punisher who is a ranged DPS and can deal with Penny more effectively. Oh, and lastly for this point, please don't pick 4 DPS. Number 3. Don't experiment in ranks. Following on from the previous point, while it's great to flex for your team and play something that helps your comp, make sure you're not first timing a hero or playing a character you know you suck at. My advice is to master 2 or 3 heroes and have 2 or 3 more as backup picks. Make sure you learn their counter picks, who they're good to play against, who they suck to play against, and whether they're good or bad on certain maps and game modes. Even the best players in the game can't play the entire hero roster to the same skill level. The heroes you master will be your key to climbing. The more experiences you have on them, the better chance you have of making that game-winning play. There's nothing worse than having a first-time Doctor Strange on your team because your allies were whining for a second tank. Play characters that you have experience on. Number 4. Stat flexing. While I can't deny that it feels great to look at the post-game leaderboard and see how much damage you racked up or how much healing you pumped out, these numbers don't tell the story of the entire game. There is so much more hidden value from the scoreboard. Some examples are who got an opening pick to multiple teamfights, who touched the point initiating overtime, who shut down enemy team ultimates, did you get any value with your ultimate, and how many times did you stun the enemy DPS who carried the game. Marvel Rivals is a game that's all about teamwork and taking objectives as a team. If you're sat there shooting all your Punisher bullets into a Groot who's never dying and feeding the enemy support ultimates, it doesn't matter how much damage you have, you are the problem. And one final note on the scoreboard that I have to point out is some heroes aren't meant to be achieving the same stats as others. For example, Spider-Man is never going to achieve those damage numbers that a Namor might get, and a Mantis will never heal as much as a Cloak and Dagger. Number 5. Get a warm-up match in first. I know in myself that I will not be hitting as many shots in my first 5 minutes playing as opposed to when I'm a few games in, and neither will anyone. Make sure you warm up your aim and game sense, whether it's a quick play game or shooting some bots up in the practice range. You don't want to load into comp while your hands are cold and your mind's not focused. And the last tip is communication. So many games are won purely by which team communicates their ultimate usage better. Whether you're using voice chat or not, the very least you can do is ping your ultimate or type in game chat when you're going to use it. This is the most important thing for strategist players to ensure that you don't drop your ultimates at the same time, as you could throw the game by doing this. By communicating your ultimate, you allow your teammates to follow up from your plays. Something like this might seem so little, but it makes a huge impact. To summarize, here are my 6 tips to win your ranked games. Number 1. Don't queue while you're tilted. Make sure you have a calm mental, otherwise you're going to keep losing. Number 2. Flex for your team. Learn to play 2 roles, especially if you're a DPS player. It's not likely that you'll get to play DPS every game. Number 3, don't experiment in ranks. It's good to flex for your team, but only flex the characters that you have experience on. Don't first time in ranked. Number 4, leaderboard stats don't tell the whole story. You can be the MVP of your team but still throw the game by dying alone before the final fight. Number 5, get a warm-up match in first before you jump into comp. And number 6, communicate your ultimate with your teammates, even if it's just via pings. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any guides or tip videos, and let me know what you think in the comments. I also stream on Twitch regularly if you want to come chat about anything. I'll see you guys next time.